The last video that I did on emotional incest, I know that I said the next video would be on women's stories because we've done 4 men's stories. But there's actually a portion of this book at the end of the men's chapter that I wanted to read. Covert incest is not limited by the 4 roles that were identified in this chapter. Boys playing roles such as the family's or mom's hero, mom's lover boy, or the golden boy are also potential victims of covert incest. The covert incest they suffered has been a source of confusing, progressive rage and shame that has plagued their intimate and sexual lives as adults. Identifying this victimizing process is the first step necessary in getting free of the trap of being a surrogate partner. A common reaction of many when hearing this information about being a covert incest victim is, "But if it weren't for my mother, nobody would have cared about me. My dad didn't seem to care about me, and I felt abandoned by him. So even though my mom seemed overbearing and overprotective, at least she cared about my needs." First, it is true that these men have been abandoned by their fathers, and this experience is both highly significant and damaging. One's sense of manhood is deeply injured. To capture a vital and healthy sense of being a man requires dealing with the anger and sadness of the abandonment. It also requires that these men in adulthood begin replacing the loss which occurred as a result of being abandoned. The reality about being abandoned by the father is clear. It is not confusing, and the feelings are readily accessible if one has the necessary support. However, the reality of a mother's behavior toward a child in a covertly incestuous relationship is not clear. There is a grave distortion in perception. It isn't always the abuse, neglect, or abandonment one suffers as a child which interfere with the happiness, but rather the distortion in perception which results. A classic example is, "I beat you for your own good." Certainly being beaten is damaging, but being told that it was for one's own good is the factor that will haunt the child for their lifetime. Being a covert incest victim is no different. It is a distortion in perception to believe that the mother's excess attention given in a covertly incestuous relationship saved the child. On the contrary, it robbed the child of the freedom to be autonomous and to feel worthy. Vitality is lost under the insidious lifelong trap that I should be there for my mother. After all, she was there, always there for me. Again, it cannot be stressed enough that the mother's preoccupation with the child was not a statement of love for the child, but a statement of dire neediness by the mother. The child's core needs are not served, but are rejected. The child feels like an object, not a person. The real needs for love, nurturing, security, and trust are never fully met. Worse yet, a child is made to believe they are met. This is the essence of the damage in a covertly incestuous relationship, along with the trauma of the relationship being bound by inappropriate sexual energy. The reality here is not clear. That is a major factor in covert incest being so insidious and pervasive in an adult victim's life. If you are a man and find yourself identifying with being a covert incest victim, it would be good to keep in mind that the intent here is not to blame your mother, but to hold her accountable. It is also important to keep in mind that your mother's behavior was probably largely unconscious. Even if it had been conscious, her own neediness from her damaged childhood would have prevented her from taking more personal responsibility. To continue to deny the damage the relationship caused will keep you trapped in a struggle to find contentment with yourself and with a partner. To focus only on your anger about your father's abandonment will keep the denial alive. Final commentary about this victimizing process refers to the fact that it is a setup for some form of addictive or compulsive lifestyle. Because of the broken spirit, pain, and discomfort of being objectified as a child and feeling inappropriate sexual energy, the adult covert incest victim has a difficult time being comfortable with his body. Addictions represent an escape from the body and a way to medicate feelings. Sexual addiction and workaholism have already been mentioned in some of these stories. However, food addiction, alcoholism, compulsive spending, shopping, gambling, and drug addiction are also common.